Welcome to the Coffee with Blue Podcast. Warning: podcast is highly addictive and you will not stop watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, share with everyone.
Welcome to Mystery Wednesdays from Coffee with Blue Podcast, now available on YouTube. Once again, thank you for tuning in into Mystery Wednesdays from Coffee with Blue Podcast on YouTube. I also want to thank you guys for the likes and the subscriptions to the channel. It really helps us out. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Remember to like and subscribe and share this with everyone. Let's get started with the episode. Have you ever had a moment where you felt something unexplainable? Something that sent chills down your spine? Tonight we dive into those eerie encounters, real stories from real people. Stories that define logic and leave us questioning the unknown. This next story goes as follows. The title of the story is called The Hand Under the Bed. This happened in Chimalhuacan, Mexico City in 2013. My ex-girlfriend and I had gone to visit her grandmother, a well-known healer in the community. People from all over Mexico would travel just to see her, seeking healing from ailments that modern medicine couldn't cure. There were countless testimonies of her success, though I have to admit I was skeptical. Not that I wanted to discredit her or anyone who believed in her gift, but I just had my doubts. We decided to spend the night at her grandmother's two-story house. She was kind and welcoming, though one thing stood out to me. She wouldn't let me cook. Every meal was prepared by the woman of the house. Maybe it was just a traditional custom, and I choose to believe that. Other than that, everything seemed normal. That evening, my ex-grandmother invited me to her temple downstairs. Curious, I followed. The room was full of bright colors, white and blue, giving it a peaceful, almost sacred atmosphere. Statues of angels, Jesus Christ on the cross, and the Virgin Mary decorated the space. As she swept the floor, she told me, "Sit down and relax." I offered to help, as I always do, but she insisted. Now, there was a reason I was curious about her. Before I even met my ex-grandmother, while still in Los Angeles, I had my first outer body experience. It was unreal, more vivid than reality itself. Sounds were amplified, colors were sharper and more vibrant. Everything felt enhanced. During this experience, I heard voices whispering, "Be quiet, she is coming." I wasn't sure who she was, and I didn't think the voices were even talking to me. But when I looked ahead, I saw an elderly woman, white hair, an apron with a red stain. Now, I'm not sure if that was blood or paint. I couldn't tell. I didn't know her yet. Fast forward to when my ex and I were looking at her family photos. Without hesitation, I pointed out at one of the photos. "That's her," I said. My ex was shocked. "That's my grandmother," she confirmed. Back to when I was in Mexico sitting in her temple that evening, I decided to test something. In my head, I asked 3 silent questions. Without missing a beat, she stopped sweeping, looked at me, and said, "I know you have questions, and I will answer them." And she did. Right then, I knew this woman had a gift. That night, she let us sleep in her bedroom, the master bedroom. But something about it unsettled me. The mirror surrounded the bed. I've never liked mirrors around the bed. Something about them has always felt off to me, but I ignored it. The bed was large and comfortable, and the room gave off no bad energy. There were no windows, at least not normal windows. But as some say, mirrors are windows, and those who know. Once we turned off the light, the room became pitch black. I couldn't even see my hands in front of my face. We settled into bed, and though my ex kept tugging at the blanket, either she was stealing it for herself, or she wanted me to hold her while we slept. We laughed, pulling the blanket back and forth, until we finally huddled close together for warmth. Then, just as I was drifting off, I felt it. It was as if something, had pressed down on the bed near our feet. Then a strong force pulled the blanket downwards, about 6 to 8 inches. It was deliberate. It was real. My ex joined to the wake. "Why did you take the blanket off me?" she asked. "I didn't," I whispered. She sat up. I sat up. We couldn't see each other in the darkness, but we felt the presence. "Turn on the lights," she said. I hesitated for a split second. I considered just going back to sleep, pretending nothing had happened. But no, I had to face it. I was the man of the house, I told myself, even though my soul wasn't quite ready for whatever was in the room. Slowly, I reached out, fumbled for the switch, and flipped it on. Lights flooded the room. We scanned the surroundings. I crouched and looked under the bed, checked the corners, the closet. The door was still locked. No one had entered, no one had left. And yet something had been there. We barely slept that night. And that, my friends, is the story of the hand under the bed. After hearing this story, it becomes clear that there are good people in this world who strive to help others, just as there are dark forces that seek to challenge them. Now, I'm not saying the people in the story are perfect, but without a doubt, they have good hearts. And where there is good, there always seems to be something trying to disrupt it. This was definitely an intriguing story, and I have no doubt that there are many more experiences like this waiting to be shared. This next story happened in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, California. It's a little bit short, but let's get right into it. The VHS player ghost. When I was 10 years old, we lived in an apartment complex with 9 units in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, California. Our apartment number 1 was right next to the main entrance to the property. It was said that someone had been shot and killed near our window, which faced the street. Almost every night, I would hear the VHS player turn on by itself, the familiar sound of the tape being ejected as if someone had pressed the button. But everyone in the house was asleep. No one was awake. No one was watching a movie, and yet the VHS player kept acting on its own. One particular night, the same eerie sound woke me up. I was lying in bed with my blanket over my face. At first, I hesitated, but curiosity got the best of me, and I peeked out to see what was causing the VHS player to turn on. What I saw still haunts me to this day. A black shadow, humanoid in shape, stood near the VHS player. It was completely dark, featureless, but I could feel it was looking at me. Then suddenly its face stretched, elongating about 3 feet, just to stare directly at me. Though it had no discernible eyes, I knew it was watching. Panic took over. I shut my eyes and buried myself under the blanket, too afraid to move. From that night on, whenever I heard the VHS player turn on by itself, I never dared peek again. This next story is called I've Been Illuminated. I hadn't seen my father in weeks, so I decided to call him to see how he was doing. That day, we agreed that I would visit him. I had just gotten home from work, utterly exhausted, and decided to rest my eyes for what was meant to be a 30-minute nap. In truth, I ended up sleeping much longer. When I finally opened my eyes again, I found myself in my dad's apartment. It was dark yet somehow inviting, and outside the window, everything was pitch black. A darkness so complete I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of foreboding, though I never questioned it too deeply. I wandered through his apartment searching for my father, but the space was empty. Every belonging was there except him. I sat on the sofa in the living room, waiting, thinking he might have gone to the market. Soon enough, I heard soft noises coming from the kitchen. I assumed he had returned, and made my way downstairs where the kitchen sat near the garage. As I descended, I noticed the garage door was open. I peered inside only to be met with a void of darkness and emptiness. Seeking some clarity, I opened the fridge and grabbed a glass of water. After closing the door, I began my way back upstairs, but something caught my eyes on the 5th step. There, standing just a few feet away, was a creature that looked like a grayish dark gargoyle. Its horns jutted from its head, and its red eyes fixed on me with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. I froze, recalling a warning I once heard that making eye contact with a demon meant it would never stop seeing you. It would hunt you forever. Yet as I stared directly into his eyes, a revelation came over me. I was more powerful than this apparition. Somehow I knew it was nothing more than a part of my dream. I smiled and with unwavering faith placed my life in the hands of our Creator. The gargoyle continued to watch me, its head tilted over so slightly in silence. I closed my eyes, smiled, and raised my hands, welcoming the light. In that moment, a small orb of light exploded outwards until they filled every corner of the space. Soon, all that remained was an endless white room so bright that I couldn't even see the boundaries. In that infinite glow, I felt an overwhelming peace and tranquility. No worries, no fear. I awoke from the dream to find that the entire interior of the house was illuminated. Though it was night, not a single dark corner remained. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a cup of fresh orange juice, and reflected on the beauty of the experience. I never turned on a light again. My bonds, my faith, had grown stronger. I've been illuminated. We will end the episode here. We are grateful to have you as an audience. If you enjoy this kind of content, please make sure to like and subscribe. We will be posting more episodes every Monday and Wednesdays. If you have a story you would like to share, please leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Once again, thank you for watching Mystery Wednesdays at Coffee with Blue Podcast.